Hello folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. I saw an interview earlier on with a small YouTube channel called Morrison Sport who were interviewing Hughie Fury. Now Hughie Fury is of course the cousin of former world champion and currently retired Tyson Fury. In fact, Hughie Fury is the son of Peter Fury. Now, Hughie Fury's had an interesting career. His box rec is 29-3-0. He fought Christian Hammer in 2021, and then his career took a turn for the worse. He was suffering from an unspecified illness, apparently caused exhaustion. He just wasn't in shape. He wasn't fit. He couldn't fight. In fact, he'd had a few fights scheduled, and then he had to cancel them because his health just wasn't back. So he fought Christian Hammer in October of 2021, and then he next appeared in the ring in April of 2024 against a guy, Konstantin Dovchenko. He won that on points, 6-round fight, went the distance. Dovchenko had an upside-down record, 10 wins, now 15 losses. He then went on to beat, again in 2024, the following month, May, so he didn't have much time, in fact. 3 weeks looking at BoxRec here. He fought Patrick Corte, who was 21-2, I guess, at the time. He stopped him in the second of an 8-round bout. Then he went on in September of 2024 to fight Christian Sun, who was unbeaten, 9-0 at the time, now 9-1. And he beat him over an 8-round distance on points. And his next fight is scheduled for this Friday, April the 4th, against a fellow called Dan Garber, who doesn't have much of a record. He's nicknamed the Reaper Man, and he's aged 39, 6'5", southpaw. Record of 9 wins, 2 KOs, 4 losses, 3 KOs. I would imagine this would be a fairly straightforward run in the park for Hughie Fury. And so I'm not really previewing or predicting this fight, other than I would expect it to be a run in the park. But what's interesting is Hughie Fury in this interview I saw, and I think he's also spoken to some of the other newspapers and other media outlets. He's calling out the, I guess it's the, maybe not still the cream, but certainly calling out the biggest names in boxing. When he was asked on the interview, he said top of his list is Usyk. So going from Dan Garber to Usyk would certainly be a jump in quality, wouldn't it? Anyhow, he said, I believe people haven't seen a fraction of my ability, and I'm looking forward this year to showing it. Talk is cheap. I can't wait now to put it all into action. It's sort of, I'm sure he's clearly is a capable fellow. He's 30 years of age. He's got a good record. He's also named people like Zhilei Zhang and Philip Ergovic. And he told The Ring magazine, God's got a plan, and I believe this is the destiny now, and I've not had the easiest route. With the health issues and all of that, I've had the hardest route in the world. But I believe now is the right time. I'm only one fight away. Just get the right fight and I'll be there. I'd like anyone. I'd like all these fights. I'd like the Zhang fight. I'd like the Joshua fight. Even Hergovic. I'd like him. All of these fights, hopefully I'd get. I think it's good to be ambitious, though one would hope that Hughie Fury would be perhaps fighting more, halfway up the ladder fighters rather than going from the likes of Dan Garber, who I mean no disrespect to at all, to calling out the cream of the heavyweight division. He even mentioned Caballal that he'd like to fight. In fact, there isn't a name that he wouldn't like to fight. One of the most interesting things he said to me was regarding Daniel Dubois. He said Dubois is just a powerhouse. He's got no boxing skill. And to be precise, what he said is Usyk will stop Dubois even quicker. I mean, should they fight again? So he's very full of confidence. got this list of all the top fighters that he wants to fight, and good for him. I just found it a little bit incongruous that he's sort of really picking on real sort of lower level journeyman, and then saying that, you know, next fights will be these sort of, you know, much more experienced and much better known fellows. You know, one would have thought that possibly he'd be fighting people like, you know, Solomon Dakers or David Adeleye, you know, working his way through that level of opposition, maybe even the Lazy Rhino or Johnny Fisher, you know, that sort of, you know what I mean, that sort of like more middle of the pack folks who, okay, you know, so you beat Johnny Fisher, you beat David Adeleye, those type of guys, then you can start talking about maybe having a crack at a Fabio Wardley or, you know, Moses Otama. That's another good fight. But to go from, you know, with great respect to Christian Thun, Patrick Corte, and I'm sure that he's going to beat Dan Garber, to go from those to saying, well, I'd like to fight, you know, the you know, higher up fellows. That seems a bit of a jump to me, but good luck to him. He comes across very nicely in interviews. He's not really quite like his cousin. I suppose if one was to be, you know, well, anyways, he's not quite his cousin. And he's well schooled, of course. Peter Fury's an outstanding trainer. So maybe these fights are in his future. He's only 30, so in the next 3, 4, 5 years, he could certainly be in the mix. But I think it's time for him now to take the training wheels off and to actually be fighting more accomplished fighters so that he can actually show us what he really has, rather than saying, I'm going to fight this guy who's much, much lower level, and then I'm going to fight these guys who are at the absolute top. His last name will get him some attention, of course, but I would suspect that he'll need to build his way up there. Let me know what you think. What do you think of Hughie Fury? Do you think he's got legs? As in, do you think he's... No, of course he's got legs. Do you think he's got, you know, this sort of career high ceiling ahead of him? Or do you think that possibly he's sort of writing checks with his mouth he's not able to cash with his ass? Let me know what you think. Please like, please share, please subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.